Hey guys, welcome to today's video. Well, today we are going to do another big modification to the 1 series. We are actually going to replace another modification that we have done more than a year ago by a better version of that modification. Because today we are going to install KW V2 suspension on the car. Well, for me it's not going to be exactly today um, because this video will be shot over 3 days. But let's have a look at the suspension, and then I'm going to do a little explanation, and then we're going to skip forwards to tomorrow and drop off the car. Hello kitty kitty. Anyway, back to the suspension. So yeah, as you can see, we have a KW V2 suspension here sitting ready for the car. And yeah, so this is a V2, and what's the difference between this one and the V1 is that you can adjust ride height on the go, not on the go, but when you're installing it. But you also can what are you doing, mate? That's just typical a cat. Always want to sit in a box. Anyway, you can also decide your ride height. Your ride height and how comfy the suspension is without changing the ride height. So you can make your suspension very firm or pretty soft. So that's why I went for this, because I actually drove a 135i on this suspension once, and it drove pretty great. So that's why we are going for this suspension. And why did I actually switched out the Bilstein Sportline that I have currently under the car for this? Well, let me give you guys a short explanation. So I installed, someone else installed the Bilstein B12 Sportline suspension for me in November of 2000 cats of 2019. And actually the suspension was great. It handled great, ride quality was good, daily drivability was good. Come on, man, I'm trying to make a video. Everything was good actually, until like in the beginning of this year I suddenly heard a clinking noise under my right front suspension. And then the garage who did my turbo, I asked them to have a look at it, and they told me that my front shock absorber has some play in it, so that's not a good thing. And so now I'm actually going to send out the front shock absorber too, actually, because the other one also has a little bit of play, back to Bilstein. But I didn't want to sit without any shock absorbers for the whole warranty process. So that's why I decided to go with the KW. Also because of another reason, I really did like the suspension of the car. The only thing is, on the Bilstein B12 Sportline, I thought that my ride height on the rear was just a little bit too high, but you couldn't change it. That was a bad part. So I actually wanted to have my car a little bit lower, and now with this suspension I can choose the ride height like I want to. So that's a good thing, and that's what we are going to do. Um, if I get warranty from Bilstein or not, that's still something we'll figure out, because I actually discovered that there's like a little dust. Maybe it's on this suspension to show you guys. Yeah, not really. But there is like a little dust cover from your old suspension that you apparently have to install on your new suspension. And the guy I went to didn't do that, and they actually can't void my warranty because of that. So I'm not going to put any disclaimers about Bilstein yet, or the guy who installed my B12 suspension. I'm going to wait that out. So I'm going to see what will happen. Yeah, for now we'll just switch to the KW. So now I'm going to put the KW suspension into my car, and then I'm going to switch out a day later. Okay, so the KW suspension is in the trunk, so now we can just leave the car. Probably should close the door, but now we can leave the car until tomorrow, and then tomorrow after work we are going to drop the car off. My mother is going to pick me up, and then one day later after work I'm going to pick the car up again, and then she should be ready. Okay, so we are 17 hours later now, and we have arrived at Performance Shop in Geel. As you can see, a nice M4 over here. So we are going to park ourselves somewhere. Ooh, that's still a nice color. I would never pick it, but nice color. And then we are going to drop off the car. And then tomorrow the KW suspension will be installed, and then we can pick her up. Hooray! Okay, so here we have the 1 Series, and love it. But yeah, what are we going to do now? So the ride height in the front will stay exactly the same, but in the rear we are going to make her drop like another centimeter so that the tire sits around here, which will look way better in my opinion. I think the car sits a little bit too high in the rear. In the front it's perfect. So yeah, that's what we are going to do. So the owner of the shop I just called him. He is going to arrive here in like 5-10 minutes. And then, yeah, my mother is going to pick me up, and then we're going to skip forwards to tomorrow. And then basically we'll have a look at the KW suspension when it's fitted on the car. So yeah, and also we just have confirmed for another little visual modification that we are going to do before we do the stage 3 tune. So yeah, keep you guys updated. It's actually a little sponsorship, so that's that's fun. Ta-da! The 2 Series front and the wrap is done. Okay, so we are actually 2 days later now, and we finally have her back. The KW is installed. There you can see a nice 1M40i, and inside they have the most crazy BMWs. There's the M4 from 2 days ago. But yeah, as you can see now, the wheel gap from behind is way less, and in the front we actually stayed at the same ride height as it was before. So now we are going to take the car for a drive. Oh, that's much lower to get in, and let's put on wide angle. So yeah, let's start her up. I'm gonna put the seat down a little bit because I think a midget drove this car. Let's go. Love the cold start. Yeah, so basically we are going to find out the... Oh, we got a check engine light from the CL, finally. So, damn boy, that bitch finally decided to catch up with me. We're gonna delete that because I can't, stand that shit. But yeah, let's drive and then delete the light because Okay, so we have the 1 Series back. We're driving it right now, and yeah, with a check engine light. That's because of the downpipe, so that's not, a bad thing. Yeah, but I just drove on the highway, got some speed bumps here and there, some potholes, some corners, an exit to get at quite some speed. And my first, reaction is, with the current setup that the coilovers are, installed in, the car is pretty firm. So I'm not going to deny that the car feels pretty firm. I'm not going to, I really can't say if it feels that much firmer than it used to. But it's definitely a firm ride. I would say it's pretty much the same as a B12 setup, maybe like a tad bit more firm. But a thing that's really, oh, there were anonymous cops and I had my phone in my hand. Well, lucky they didn't do a U-turn. But something that I definitely feel is, it's it's much more sportive, much more responsive. So I was taking an exit from the highway at around 80-90 kilometers an hour, and there was absolutely almost no body roll. It was very, very, very stable. And the Bilstein suspension has way more body roll than this suspension. So there is definitely a big difference. You know, finally that clunking noise is done. I'm so happy about that. You can imagine that finally that stupid noise is gone. Really happy with that. But yeah, you know, this suspension is double the price of the Bilstein, and you know, the Bilstein was good suspension. I'm not going to say that it was bad suspension, but you know, the quality is questionable, because apparently the guy that, you know, installed my coilovers, he said that you know, what happened to me happens, you know, more to Bilstein front shocks. He said, you know, 20 for 25,000 kilometers, and most of those shocks are already broken. And Bilstein can be a bitch about warranty, so we're still gonna give them a chance to give me warranty. But yeah, if you want to buy the Bilstein B12 kit, you know, make sure that you take in mind that the front shocks can break after around 25,000 kilometers. But otherwise, it's great suspension as a daily driver, and you know, for a sporty feeling of your 1 Series. But now the KW was double the price, and my question was it worth it? Well, of course, I only drove the KW here for around 10 minutes, around 10 kilometers, and the Bilstein I drove for more than a full year and 25,000 kilometers. But my first response, my first feeling of this is yes, I think it's worth it, because you can also choose your ride height. So if you want to, you know, have the more sportive feeling and you don't want to lower your car, you can still do that. And if you want to lower your car and have a comfy ride, you can. If you want it more sportive for a track day, you can. So you have way more options. So yeah, I would say it's worth it. You know, it's a lot of money. You know, it's around 1,500 euro for me. I got a cheaper price, but you know, with installation at a shop, you will look at 1,700-800 euro easily. So yeah, it's a big investment. It's a lot of money, but your car will drive way better than it will on its stock suspension. Even when you have M suspension, that really doesn't do that much compared to the stock suspension. But this definitely does make a difference. It really, you know, sharpens up the car. You know, you lose, you know, comfort in a straight line on, you know, shocks and, you know what I'm saying, around potholes and stuff like that. So you lose, you know, a little bit of the comfy drive that you had before, but you have a much sharper car in return. So it really depends on what you want. And you may think, well, why just don't get shocks for around 100 euro and, you know, call it a day? Well, you can do that, and a lot of people do that, and there's nothing wrong with that. Your car will, you know, steer a lot better with it already, but your standard shocks are not designed for shorter springs. So what will happen is that your car will bounce way more, because they are not designed for, you know, to get lowered. And with these, you won't have that. While handling even better, okay? Sure, it's 15 times the price, but you know what you're getting. You know, you get what you pay for. That's what I'm saying. You get what you pay for in both, you know, circumstances. So yeah, we are going to have a look at, you know, the car at my driveway, because you know, I feel a little bit, you know, less comfy, you know, filming somewhere in public, because you know, talking English in Belgium and people look weird at you. But yeah, we are going to have some little nice shots. I may do these tomorrow in a separate video. But yeah, like I said, you know, the car really is a lot better. And now when I'm home, I'm going to delete that pesky check engine light. It will probably return. But yeah, we also had some little extra costs that I shortly want to talk about, which wasn't that nice. but apparently the drive shaft that I replaced wasn't installed correctly, and that actually caused my bearing in my left wheel to go bad, which really sucks. It cost me another €400 to get all that shit sorted out, and that's why it took actually 2 days instead of 1. But now the car is finally in 100% working condition, and I'm very happy with that. Now we just need to wait for the retune. That's another 3 weeks. The time is shortening down, and when the retune is done, I hope I don't blow my engine, but when the retune is done, we can finally rip and have a nice blast with my current setup, because I haven't been able to drive full throttle yet with my new exhaust setup and with my new Bilstein suspension. So that really sucks, but it will get rewarded. Once the tune is done, the car will be perfect. Not perfect, nothing is perfect, but it will be much better as what it was in the beginning of this year. But yeah, guys, I think I don't have anything extra to shoot and to tell you. We are going to go further with the Bilstein thing. What will happen with it, I will keep you guys updated, and I will also tell you more about the KW once I've done some more kilometers with the car and have more experience. But for now, everything seems great. I think it's really a good investment for the future. And yeah, anyway, guys, see you later. Bye.